Unit 5 review. Look at the dilation shown. Dilation is always multiplication. Dilation is always multiplication. So if I look at my answer choices, before I even know what the question is, if it's talking about dilation and it's multiplication, right, I can look and see if I can eliminate anything. You also have to know that anytime you have scale factor, it has to be the same number for both. So D is automatically out because that's two different numbers. That can't be it, okay? So we look at those and they're all multiplication. We also can look at the picture and see that it's going to be an enlargement because the shape is getting bigger from the beginning to the end. So that means that the scale factor has to be more than 1 if it's getting bigger. So if I look at that, that's definitely not more than 1, so that eliminates A, which leaves you between just two choices. Then I can look at my points and say, okay, the original C was at 3, 2, and then C prime is at 6, 4. Right? And so I take my new divided by old. New divided by old to get 2. New divided by old to get 2. So the scale factor is 2, and that's what makes B the correct answer. Next one, it says, triangle ABC was transformed to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Which rule best describes this transformation? So they didn't flip it, so it's not a reflection. Okay, they didn't turn it, so it's not a rotation, and it didn't get bigger or smaller, so it's not a dilation. So that means it's got to be a translation. Okay, so that's just a slide. So the shape slid down the graph. It didn't slide left or right at all, just slid down. So the X, it didn't move at all. The Y, so from A to A prime, it went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. So on the Y, it went down 7, and down is a negative move, so X, comma, Y minus 7 would be your rule. Okay, next one, it says, a polygon will be dilated on a coordinate grid to create a smaller polygon. So dilation is always multiplication, and it's creating something smaller, okay? That means the scale factor is going to be less than 1. The polygon is dilated using the origin as the center of dilation. Which rule could represent this dilation? So since it's smaller, scale factor has to be less than 1. And since it's a dilation, it has to be multiplication. So you're just in a due process of elimination. This is subtraction, can't be it. This is subtraction, can't be a dilation. This is multiplication, and this is multiplication. But 5 over 4 equals 1.25, which is more than 1, so that would make it bigger. 0.9 is less than 1, so that's the only thing that would result in a smaller shape. Quadrilateral PQRS was translated 5 units to the right and 3 units up to create quadrilateral P prime, Q prime, R prime, S prime. Which rule describes this transformation? So on the x-axis, it's going right, which is positive, 5 spaces. On the y-axis, it's going up, which is positive, 3 spaces. So this would be my rule. X plus 5 and y plus 3. X plus 5 and y plus 3. That's subtracting, and this one has the numbers in the wrong spot. So G is your correct choice. Next one, I didn't give you very much space, so you may need to get just a sheet of paper to do it on the side. It says the length of a rectangular frame is 15 inches. The width of the frame is 8 inches. So if you have a question about a shape, and then I'll give you a picture, then draw the picture. So we're talking about a rectangle. The length is 15. The width is 8. What is the length of the diagonal? So you have to draw the diagonal. And if you do that, then hopefully you can see that that's just a right triangle, and that means that this is just a Pythagorean theorem question. Here's my right angle, which means that's C, this is A, and this is B. And again, you can switch up A and B, doesn't matter. Okay? And it's asking for what is the length of the diagonal. So it's asking what is the length of C. So I write my theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Plug in my numbers, 8 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225. Add that together, and you get 289. Then you want to do the square root of 289 to get 17. So C equals 17. So the length of the diagonal is 17 inches, and that's your final answer. Okay, next one, it says the width of a rectangle is 4 feet. Again, they didn't give you a picture, so draw a picture. The width of the rectangle is 4 feet, and the diagonal is 13 feet. Which measurement is closest to the length of the rectangle? So now you're looking for B, but you know A and C. So you label your triangle and then write your theorem. Start the same way and plug in your numbers. 4 is A, you don't know B, and you know that C is 13. 4 squared is 16, you don't know B squared, and that equals 169. So 16 plus something equals 169. I don't know what that something is, so I can subtract to figure out that that's 153. So B squared equals 153. But the square root of 153 is how long B is going to be, which equals 12.3 something, something, something. So if I look back at my choices, it says which of these is closest, and so that would be letter H, 12.4. Okay, on to the back. It says a polygon is graphed on a coordinate grid with X and Y representing the location of a certain point on the polygon. The polygon is transformed using the rule X and Y becomes AX, AY. So this right there, that's multiplication, because anytime there is no sign, that means multiplication. And since it's multiplication, that means that it is a dilation, okay? We know that scale factor more than 1 will make it bigger. Scale factor less than 1 will make it smaller. So it says A, if A, so that's scale factor. If the scale factor is more than 1, greater than 1, that'll make it bigger, right? But the question says that it'll make it congruent, so that's not true. If the scale factor is between 0 and 1, so meaning less than 1, the image of the polygon is congruent. Not true, because if it's less than 1, it's going to make it smaller. If scale factor is greater than 1, the image of the polygon is smaller. If it's greater than 1, it gets bigger, so that's not true. If scale factor is between 0 and 1, the image of the polygon is smaller. Yes, if it's less than 1, it gets smaller, so J is the correct answer. Okay, next one says, the diagram shows 3 squares that are joined at vertices to form a right triangle. So this is your right triangle. This would be A, B, and C, and they've already squared it for you. So if I did A squared plus B squared, that equals C squared. A says the sum of the areas of square N, so that's A, and square L, that's B, are equal to the areas, that's a 2, are equal to the area of square K. So that's true. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So it's probably A. But let's check the rest. The sum of the areas of square N, that's A, and square L, that's B, are greater than the area of C. That's not true. The sum of the areas of square N, A squared, and square K, C squared, is equal to the area of L, B squared. That's not true. The sum of the areas of square N, A squared, and square K, C squared, is less than square L. Not true. So A is the correct answer. Okay, next one. This one's really tricky. How much shorter is side D than the sum of the 2 legs of the triangle below? So if I just added the legs, 4 plus 11, right? That's the sum of the 2 legs. Sum of 2 legs. So I need that information here at the end. But I have to figure out how long is side D. Well, it's my triangle, A and B and C. So this is 11, B equals 11, A equals 4, and C is what I'm looking for. Write your theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Plug in your numbers, 4 squared plus 11 squared equals C squared. Square your numbers, 4 squared is 16, 11 squared is 121. Add those together to get C squared, which is 137. Okay, and then the square root of 137 equals 11.70-ish, right? Then it says, how much shorter is this side than the sum of the two legs? So I want to subtract those two numbers in order to get my final answer. So 15 minus 11.70 will give me my final answer of 3.30. So that's your final answer. That's kind of a tricky question because there's a lot of steps going on. And then the last question, the graph shows the resulting figure after parallelogram ABCD is reflected across the y. So my line of reflection is right here. So it's flipping from left to right, okay? So if I look at B prime, that means that if it flipped, it was over here. So it's at, B prime is at 3,7. If it was flipped across this line, it was at negative 3,7. Negative 3,7, okay? So that means the y stayed the same, the x became the opposite. So I'm just looking for the rule that says the y stayed the same, the x became the opposite. Y stayed the same, x became the opposite. All right, study tonight.